Hello, hello, hello. How you doing, my Christian friends? It is I, Ebony J, or Ebony. I'm just doing my usual, popping up, popping on, just wanting to give a word. It's quite late here on my side of town, on my side of the earth. I'm in Central Standard Time, so it's probably about 9 o'clock. I usually don't want to ever really come on so late, but then again, hey, I know some of y'all out there that's still up, still on social media, still up reading, still up just engaging with family. So I mean, I'm sure it's still people up this time of night that's just up and ain't sleep yet. So, but like folks like myself who really don't really get to bed at we get to bed in the wee hours of the night. So I'm sure some folks out there that's still up. So this one is for the guys who like to hang out late and just still up and not in bed so early, right? But anyway, so just doing what I come to do, which is just give a word. I've been kind of sitting on this word for a while, but I kind of want to give a little more study in it just so before I come on and just kind of put it out there. I just want to make sure I dig a little more into it to make sure that, what I'm saying is going to be pure, right, and true of the word. I don't want to deviate from the word, from the right or the left. I don't want to take away from it or add to it. I just want to just give from my experience of what I read, when the word touches me and I feel like I need to put it out there. I definitely want it to be pure. I want it to be right. I want it to be true. And I don't want to have to over exaggerate. I don't want to have to come with clever words or anything like that. I just want to kind of be straight up about it and just giving the word because again it relates to me and it touched my spirit in a way because when I read the word and I feel like something in it just really hits me, then it's a reason because it either relates to me or if it's something that I feel like I noticed or I feel or I've seen or I've heard or it's out there and I just want to just kind of give that word. So tonight's pop-up Bible study, I just kind of wanted to talk about how we all may experience troubles and hardships and sufferings in our life, but we also are comforted by God. And so I wanted to talk about that because I know sometimes just going through those times in your life when you are experiencing hardships and you're going through those times in your life when you are in that uncomfortable season and you're feeling down. Sometimes you look up and you just wonder how you got through it, right? Because I've been through it. I've been through that. I've been through it. I've been through I've been through some anguish, if I wanted to use a good word. And sometimes I look up, I don't even know how I got through even just that day. So I just kind of want to give a word about how God comforts all, or God offers comfort to all. And that'll be coming from the book of 2 Corinthians that I wanted to speak on that. So, I'm going to first go ahead and start with the word, and it's coming from 2 Corinthians chapter 1. And I'm going to start with verse 3, where it says, God is our merciful Father and the source of all comfort. He comforts us in all our troubles so that we can comfort others. Okay, when they are troubled, we will be able to give them the same comfort God has given us. For the more we suffer for Christ, the more God will shower us with his comfort through Christ. Even when we are weighed down with troubles, it is for your comfort and salvation. For when we ourselves are comforted, we will certainly comfort you. Then you will also share in the comfort that God gives us. All right, and yeah, so I'm gonna stop there because that whole verse there was like, again, it resonates with me because there's just been so many times, or how many of you out there where you've just been going through a season in your life of hardship, or you've been going through a season in life of suffering, whether if it was mental, physical, spiritual, just going through something. You could be going through experiencing just hurt in your life, loneliness, feeling that spirit of rejection, feeling dejected, or feeling that spirit of depression, just being pensive, or just feeling like, nothing is working out for you. You feel like, you've tried this and tried that and you're still not where you want to be at in life. Or you might be in that season of life where you've had it all and you've lost it all, or you're in that season of waiting. There's just so much. So, we all experience those hardships. We all experience those moments of sufferings. We all experience those moments of hurt, being down. But then, I mean, has it been where you just look up after just going through it, you can look back and say, wow, I got through it. Like I made it through it. That's the Lord, because he provides that comfort to you. And so I know when we're in that season, right? Because it's hard when you're in it. When you're in it, it's hard because your emotions sometimes can conquer you, and you're dealing with something and you don't know how to either release the worry, the doubts, and the fears of it, because when you're going through it, it's a different thing that you're experiencing when you're going through it. So sometimes it's hard to take a moment to look at it and say, let me be thankful in what I'm going through right now. Let me be grateful. Let me still help somebody else and serve others when I'm going through. Because when you're just going through whatever it is you're going through, sometimes it just conquers and overrides your mood and your behaviors and your activity and how you may choose to just get up and work through it, right? And I get it, because we all go through that. Everybody deals with their pains and their sufferings differently. But for me, when I was in that season of going through a lot with that anxiety and that depression, it was hard for me to even just do my daily routines and my daily activities. I shut down. I isolated myself, and I was not the same person. And again, for me, when I was just in it, I was in it and I didn't know how to work through it. I didn't know how to rejoice through it at the time, right? So when I was just going through that and I was in that season, it had me. And so, but I made it through it. And it was times where I literally, when I was going through what I was going through, y'all, for months, days that turn into months, that turn into years, I was living in immense fear of death, and just so afraid, to where I was a prisoner in my own mind. My mind literally worked against me, to where I was caught. I was in tunnel vision. I was in a downward spiral, and I couldn't focus. I couldn't focus on the present that was right in front of me. I was just so caught up in my mind of what my mind had convinced me of, thinking of death. I was not myself, and I was outside of myself. And I didn't know how to get through it. I cried every day, and I prayed and cried. And thanks to the Lord, that did help me, because when I did have those moments where I just would pray and cry, I felt an ease and a release that did help me. And when I did feel that prayer helped, ever since then, I stuck with prayer. Prayer has been my escape, helping me through those moments where I was just in a dark space of just immense fear. But anyway, I said that to say that when I look up, though, 5 years later, 6 years later, I mean, now I know when people say I don't look like what I've been through, I can truly relate to that, because when I look back, I'm like, wow, I'm surprised that I even survived what I was feeling inside. I'm surprised I survived how that fear had really permeated my whole body, and fear took over my body to a point where, again, I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I had begun to get I had insomnia, so I couldn't sleep. I wasn't eating. It was just fear just running through my body, and it took over me. And just now looking back and then reading and researching on how anxiety and fear can really stress your body and do certain things to your mind and your body, I honestly look back and it had to be God. And I'm like, wow, I survived that. Like, I'm surprised that my brain was scrambled. I really suffered a lot of anguish. But again, just saying that God got me through that. He comforted me in those moments where something throughout that piece of the day gave me some type of relief, some type of enough motivation to not just completely surrender to the fear, right? Because you got some people that are in so much deep depression and going through what they're going through. Some people succumb to those things and they don't make it through. But the Lord was still there with me, even though I went through what I went through. And I understand why I went through what I went through, because I had to be disciplined. Okay. I was a very selfish person. I had selfish ambitions. I wasn't glorifying God. I wasn't acknowledging God. I was just living for myself, living to please the world. And again, the Lord had to discipline me. And so, just going through that, I'm just thankful that I can look back and say, wow, I got through all of that, and I still look pretty decent after just going through what I went through. I'm just surprised I still relatively look the same. My body suffered a lot. My brain suffered a lot. I was exhausted, and again, it's been days where even after fighting through all of that mental suffering that I went through, it was days I would wake up that very morning, like day didn't even get started, and I would just bawl and cry and saying, Lord, how am I going to even get through the day? Lord, please just help me even just get through the day. I got to go to work. I got a whole 5-6 hour shift ahead of me. There's no way I'm going to even make it through this shift. So God, I need you. That was literally my prayer a lot of mornings, waking up. My day hadn't even begun. And the first thing that I had to do was cry and say, Lord, I don't even know how I'm going to make it through the day. I don't even have the strength or the energy. But I made it through the entire day being exhausted mentally the way that I was, after not having a night of no sleep at all, because I was just full of fear, crying, scared, just scared of what the next minute would bring, and just not getting no sleep at all. I mean, so I was scrambling. I really went through it. And and it was times I would literally say, Lord, I know I'm not going to make it through the day. I mean, every day just scared, thinking I was going to die that day, scared to think of what the next minute was going to bring, to where I was so afraid at one time, I literally wouldn't even move. I would be in my bed for hours at a time, scared to even get up to go use the bathroom, because I was scared that if I even moved, that was going to be my last movement, and that was it for me. And I was living like that every single day in that much fear. And yet and still, however it be, the Lord's Spirit was still there. He still comforted me. He still got me through it. So just wanting to break down that and how I say that I know that that God comforts us all, where it says here, God is our merciful Father and the source of all comfort. He comforts us in our troubles. He comforts us in our troubles so that we can comfort others. So I wanted to say to you all, Christian friends, that, when you are going through those seasons of whatever it is you're experiencing, because we're all going to go through, we all have a story to tell, right? But when you're going through that, and I had to learn it. So again, I'm glad I went through it, because now I'm able to kind of persevere through some of the hardships, and I'm able to kind of endure some of the things that I go through now a little better because of what I've been through. And the Lord had got me through it to where I can say, okay, God got me through this before. And so I wanted to say that we can now look at it and perceive things differently now, to where when we do have these hardships and these sufferings and these troubles and the calamities that we may experience, now you can kind of accept those troubles. You can kind of accept that in a way to still be grateful and thankful when you're going through it. Like it says, be thankful in all circumstances. So even when you are not going through the best, when you are in an uncomfortable point or spot or space in your life, learn to look at it as, this is God's way of me being able to persevere through this. Because it says, sufferings, when you go through suffering brings patience. Patience brings forth the endurance, and endurance brings forth the hope, the confident hope in the Lord. So when you go through that, when you go through those trials, your trials brings the patience. Patience brings the endurance. Endurance brings your confident hope in what you're going through, knowing that, okay, if the Lord got me through this before, He's going to get me through this again. And so that's how we got to now look at the sufferings or the hardships that we're going through. Look at it as a way that when you endure this, you can now get through it better the next time, and ultimately, y'all, let's fly. I'm finna shut this whole live down, because I'm finna get them. But anyway, so when you look at that and say, okay, when you're going through this, I'm going through this because maybe it's somebody else out there that I need to help when they go through it. So that's why the word says that He comforts us all in our troubles so that we can be able to comfort others. So look at your sufferings and your hardships when you get through it or when you're going through it, to say, you know what, there's going to be somebody that I may need to save or help or comfort in the end. Because at the end of the day, when you're going through that, it feel good to you? And I mean, have any of you ever been through those times where you have went through some things and somebody came to you and gave you that encouragement? They gave you that comfort. They gave you that advice. They gave you that word that kind of lifted you up, right? And so when you had those little small moments in life where something just gave you a stir, that stirred you back up to refresh you again, or to help you to keep on keeping on and keep on trying, and not necessarily completely giving up and surrendering to what you were going through, right? Something or somebody made it happen for you to get back up again and just try one more time, or to cry your tears, cry it out, wipe your tears, and then start back over, or try again, or continue to pray. That was God sending others to comfort you, because guess what? They went through it too. So now they have the testimony, and they have the story to come to you and help you. So now that you've endured it, and then now that you know how, because you've been comforted, now you can be comforting someone else. Now someone can cry on your shoulder for help, and you can be able to relate and explain everything to them. I mean, wouldn't it be nice where if somebody's coming to you explaining something to you, they can really give you the pureness of it and be genuine about it because they've been through it? How can somebody come to you and try to help you through something, or guide you through something, or give you advice if they've never been through it themselves? Though that's the best guidance and the best help right there, when you know, because you've been through it. So look at your sufferings and your hardships and the things that you've experienced, in the heartache, the fails of you trying something, like for my entrepreneurs out there, when you're, in this whole business game and, something didn't work, you got to go back to the drawing board. You're in that small beginning of it. Don't despise those small beginnings. So take all the mess ups that happen while you're trying to grow your business, and don't look at it as, well, maybe this ain't meant, because I've been through that season too, and I still go through those doubts sometimes where I feel like, well, maybe it's not flourishing for me as fast, because maybe this is not supposed to be for me. But you got to enjoy the beginnings, the small beginnings, and don't despise it. Don't despise the mistakes that you make, because those are mistakes that are learning curves. That now you can say, all right, I remember in that first year, this how I did things, and that didn't work for me. So you're going back to the drawing board, right? Or you're looking at, you're looking over some things, evaluating how things went. And now you can say, okay, I done that, so I know how that worked. Now let me try something else. Well, it's the same thing in life when you're here to comfort others. You've been through it, so now you can now help somebody else through it, because you know exactly what it feels like. Same thing with my parents, our parents out there. When your kids, you see exactly all the things they're going through. You already know what's going to happen to them before it happens, because you've been through it. So when you try to guide your kids or give them advice or tell them or warn them and say, look, don't get into this, don't get into that, I know how your life can turn out because I've been through that. And it can be a genuine help. Okay, so we got to now just look at our hardships in a different way, so that way when we're going through it, it doesn't mean that it ain't going to hurt, or you're still not going to, it's not going to be comfortable. But if you look at it in a way that, I'm going through this because there's somebody else that's going to need me in the end, then you can endure this with a patient attitude. Okay, and so moving forward, where it says, even when we are weighed down with troubles, it is for your comfort and salvation. So again, we are weighed down with those troubles so that we can comfort others, and for their salvation, to be able to help and save them. All right. And it says, then you can patiently endure the same things we suffer. So now you can patiently, and that's what I meant by saying, now you can endure these things a little better next time. So when you're suffering and you've gone through it, next time it may happen again, you can endure it a little better. And then again, when you see somebody else and somebody else is going through something, and you can say, I done been there. I've been down that road. You know exactly what to say and tell that person to comfort them and help them. Okay. And so it says here, we are confident that you, as you share in the sufferings, you will also share in the comfort God gives us. So when you share, when we all family of believers, because again, that's why family believers, we got to pray for each other. We got to we got to stay alert, and we got to be persistent in our prayers for all our believers everywhere. We have to pray for believers everywhere because our family believers are all going through the same things we are going through. So the same sufferings you're enduring, somebody out there, a family of believers is going through the same exact things. So we got to continue to pray, but those prayers help. And so again, when they're sharing, when our family believers out there and they share in those sufferings, that means they will also share in the comfort of God. Because just like how God comforted me when I was going through, even though it would hurt, I was being disciplined. It hurted. I had to be sat down and I had to go through it. And then when those days when I felt like I just know for sure I'm not going to make it through this day, I'm going to be a dead person. I'm not going to even live this day. Like every day I woke up thinking this was my last day, literally for years. But I made it through it. God comforted me in some kind of way. When I had the will to say, you know what, I'm going to just cry and pray this out, that prayer helped me. It just brought a release to me. So that was God's comfort in a way. When I maybe read the word and some type of word just popped out at me, it stirred me back up again. To see my kids smile, even though a lot of those times I was pretending, for a very long time I was pretending that I was okay, but I really wasn't. I was fighting inside. I was struggling and fighting inside, and I was just pretending. I had to put on a smile that wasn't real. I was crying, and when I knew my kids was about to come around me, I had to wipe my tears and play it off like I was okay, because I didn't want them to see how I was bad. I was in a bad position mentally and spiritually. I was fighting. But just seeing my kids, the Lord allowed them to still be in my life and still made it work for me. The Lord still somehow gave me enough energy to get up and go to work that day, to make the money that I needed to make, to still make sure my bills were paid. I was still able to get up and go support my daughter playing sports. I still made it through it. But I mean, literally, I was fighting every single day mentally. But again, the Lord comforted me in some kind of way. And so the Lord will do the same thing for you. And as the Lord comforts you, it allows you to comfort others. Okay. And so I wanted to also go here where it says the part where Paul was like, in fact, we expected to die. But as a result, we stopped relying on ourselves and learned to rely only on God who raises the dead. So here what Paul was just talking about when they went to the province of Asia. And of course, Paul, which was a servant of God, and he was once a person who persecuted Christ and persecuted the Christ family of believers. He persecuted God's people, right? And the Lord touched him. The Lord worked through him and changed him, and he became an apostle and a servant of God. And so he basically was saying here in the scriptures that when they went to the province of Asia, they were crushed and overwhelmed beyond their ability to endure. And he said, in fact, we thought we was going to die. They was expecting that they was going to die because they suffered a lot going through doing the things that they were doing when he was out there trying to, just still minister the word of God. Where the Lord told him that, I want you to be the servant, and I want you to minister to the Jews. Or was it the Gentiles? One of them. But yes, so the Lord touched him, who was once a persecutor, right? Now he's serving these people, and now he has to go out there and spread the word to the Gentiles, to the Jews. I'm sorry. It was either Paul that was the servant who had to speak to the Jews, and then it was Peter or Cephas, who was supposed to be the apostle to speak to the Gentiles. But either way it go, the Lord changed him and worked through him. But he was just basically saying, look, we expected to die. But because of that, and knowing that happened, they had to surrender trying to do things in their own might, in their own strength, and whatever wisdom or whatever they thought that how they were going to survive through it. They had to surrender all of that and rely only on God. So they had to stop thinking that they was going to be able to make it through. And so I said that to say, and I had it bad because one of the main things that used to just make whatever I was going through even worse was that I was trying to figure things out. When I was going through what I was going through, I just wanted to know so much. Why am I going through this? What is this? What is this? Why am I feeling this way? What kind of feeling is this? I'm not used to this. It was just so uncomfortable. I wanted to know everything. I just wanted to know the feeling. I wanted to know why. I wanted to know what it mean. What could happen? How long could this last? I just wanted to know everything. And I sent myself through even more stress trying to figure things out. And that made my season even worse. I mean, y'all, I used to go on Google for hours in a day trying to Google what I was feeling and what I was going through, trying to just figure it out, going on every time I felt something. I'm Google, what is this? And what does this mean? And how does that feel? And it made it worse. I mean, I would be in tunnel vision for hours in a day, not moving because I was scared to move. So since all I was going to do was just sit there anyway because I didn't want to move, okay, well then I'm going to be on this phone trying to figure out what I'm going through, what I'm feeling, trying to ask the world and ask Google, why am I feeling this way? And am I going to make it through this? Just kind of putting trust in what Google was telling me. And Google wasn't doing nothing but making my life miserable and making it worse. And I had to filter, fight, and focus. I had to filter all of that trash that I was feeding myself and all that I was going through. And like I said, I understand now why I went through it, and not saying it's over. I still go through days, but I'm much better now. I'm much better because, again, I pray every day, Lord, help my heart to trust in you with all my heart and lean not on my own understanding. And that's where I was going wrong at. I was trying to understand things for myself and figure things out for myself. I want to know what I'm going through, so I'm going to figure it out. I would go to the doctor spending tons of money going to doctors and going and trying to figure out this and that. And even when the doctors was telling me, you know, your blood work is normal, everything looks good, I still didn't believe them. Okay, didn't want to believe the doctors, but then go on Google and want to believe what Google said. And every bad thing that Google told me, you're going through this, and that means cancer, that means this, that means that. I would believe in that, and that's all I believed in. So I was convinced, and therefore I was just going in a downward spiral every time, and I was just digging myself in a deeper pit. And it was hard to come up out of that, but, you know, by the grace of God, because God's grace that he was still there comforting me, even though I didn't feel good at the time going through what I was going through, the Lord still was comforting me. He got me through every day. Somebody had to say to me, you know, you crying and scared, thinking you're going to die every day, but yet every morning the Lord is waking you up. And this is what you're doing with that when the Lord is still touching you every morning and breathing his breath in you. And this is how you repay him every day, by still doing what you were doing. And at the time, it wasn't because I was doing it on purpose or just intending to just say, well, God ain't gonna help me. But I was just in so much fear going through what I was going through. I didn't know what to do, and I was trying to lean on my own understanding. So like the word said here, when Paul said, look, we expected to die, but as a result, we stopped relying on ourselves and learned to rely only on God who raises the dead. And he did rescue us from mortal danger, and he will rescue us again. So haven't you had those times in your life, right, where you just went through the worst? You went through whatever you went through, divorce, or having a bad relationship, or, you know, kids, you know, going through a lot with your kids, or having financial issues, or having issues on your job, or just feeling rejected, not getting what you want, not in the place that you want to be in, had to stop this or start that, or walk away from some people, just some things where you just was in a season of just not feeling like yourself. You went through a lot of hurt. You may have experienced some danger, some harm, just something that came upon you, the evil traps and the snares of life that may have fallen upon you. That wasn't fun, that was a bad thing for you, right? But yet the Lord still, you had to surrender to God. You had to then realize, like, oh, wow, I still made it through that. That was God's mercy on you, though, right? Because mercy looks like when God doesn't give you what you do deserve, or what should have happened to you because you disobeyed him, right? You was disobedient to God. You didn't wash your hands of those sins, so you still lived and wanted to do how you wanted to do things. You was living to be friends with the world and wanted to please the world. So God had to discipline you, and some things fell upon you because of some of your own actions. Along with, Satan, he has to do his work, right? He's in the world, seeking someone to devour. So he got to do his part. And then you out here doing your part with your flesh, allowing your flesh to take over and being a slave to sin. So you out there living how you want to live. But the Lord had mercy on you, right? Because he didn't allow some of the things that could have happened to you, that worst thing that could have happened. Like, yeah, what happened to you could have happened, but it could have been worse, right? He didn't allow it to happen. That was the Lord's mercy on you, because he didn't allow the bad thing that could have happened to happen to you. So that's what mercy looks like, when he doesn't give you what you do deserve or what you should have got. So the Lord had mercy on you, and he comforted you in those moments. He might have sent somebody, a family member, your own child, a verse, a word. You heard something, you saw something that stirred you up to let you know, like, that was God. And you got to now give God the glory for that, because you know it was him. Who else was it? If you could just look back at a point in your life where you know you made it through something, it wasn't on your own will. That was God. That was God's mercy. That was God's grace. That was God comforting you. That was God blessing you, keeping you, and saving you when you didn't deserve it. That's one of my favorite things to say all the time now. Lord, thank you for blessing me, keeping me, and saving me when I never deserved it. Those times when I was out there living in sin and just living to please the world. And anything could have happened to me at that point in time. I could have died. I was out there just doing some foolish things that, I know that didn't please the Lord, that I'm ashamed of now. But the Lord still saved me through some of those moments when I was just doing some foolish things. Anything could have happened. The worst could have happened to me, and it didn't. Because the Lord was still out there comforting me, and he didn't abandon me, but I abandoned him. But when I had to fall down to my knees and be in discipline, I had to learn, like, that toughest, that darkest moment in my life, when I reached rock bottom and I started experiencing that anxiety and depression, and was going through what I was going through, living like that. I had to learn that I could only rely on God, because even me trying to do what I was trying to do, trying to go to doctors to find out what's wrong with me, spending tons of money going to doctors every week, getting blood drawn every week, every 2 weeks, and still not believing them, and trying to rely on my own understanding, like, well, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to figure out what's going on with me, because it got to be something wrong. And all this time, it was my own mind working against me, because I had done convinced myself I was going through this and going through that, and I didn't even want to believe the doctor. So when I did go to them and they said, everything looks fine, Miss Simmons, I still ain't believe that. But then I would go on Google and be in this whole trap of just evil and going through what I was going through. I had to sit my behind down and be disciplined through that. But then I had to learn that prayer helped me. So I had to rely only on God. And after I learned that, I had to say, okay, God, that's God. Okay, now I know I got to now keep on relying on God and keep on praying. When I felt and I saw and I felt in my heart that I was convinced that prayer helped, and prayer did help me through those dark moments when I was at my worst, crying and snot bubbles coming out my nose and crying the ugly cry. And I felt that just release and feeling good. I was like, okay, this is it right here. And from there on, I never stopped praying. And I'm thankful my prayer life picked up. But yes, I had to learn to rely only on God, just as Paul said. And he did. And he said, and he did rescue us from mortal danger, and he going to do it again. And the Lord rescued me from all of that. I'm not saying I'm out of it all, but I'm much better. I know that I'm not where I once was. I'm so thankful. I'm more grateful. I acknowledge God. I honor God. And I have to still pray to the Lord to help me to continue to do that, because I owe it to God to obey and serve him. I owe it him now to use my whole body as an instrument to do good for the glory of God, to do what is good for the glory of God. Because when I at once used my whole body as an instrument to serve sin and to serve evil, and no more. And I need God's help to help me. And I have to say that, Lord, I want to turn away from evil. Lord, I want to wash my hands of these sins. Lord, I want to acknowledge you. I want to submit to you in whatever I do. So I still have to pray even about that to help me to do that. Because again, we have our flesh in us, and the Lord already, is in the word that, we are fighting our flesh, wars against us, our own flesh that's in us that we can't control. So, when I'm trying to answer to that spirit, I have to ask the Lord to help me with that so I can answer to that spirit. But again, it says we have placed our confidence in God. So because of, looking back and the Lord showing me that was him that got me through that, I place my confidence in God. So now I'm more confident in believing and trusting and praying and seeking God when I'm going through whatever I'm going through, because it doesn't mean that the calamities are going to stop. But when they come, now you have the confidence that, okay, God got me through that before. That had to have been God. It wasn't nothing to nobody else. So now I got more confidence to pray and rely on God even more. And that's what he wants from us. All right. And then it says, and you are helping us by praying for us. Then many people will give thanks because God has graciously answered so many prayers for our safety. So when you look at that part where it says, and you are helping us by praying for us, like I stated, we got to all pray for each other too. That's why the word said to pray for our family of believers everywhere, because they're going through the same things and the same sufferings that you're going through. That's why they need that extra help, that extra, for you to intercede on their behalf. We need it. We have to be consistent and persistent in our prayers and praying for all believers everywhere. And because of that, because they're suffering, they're going through it. They might be in that season right now, or right now, somebody could be in that same season where that anxiety has conquered them and ruled them and conquered their day. And they are fighting. They are fighting, trying to dig themselves out of that pit. And it's so hard. And then even when it seems like sometimes when you pray, it seems like you feel even worse after you pray. Like it seems like that demon or that spirit come crawling and jumping right back on you even after you done prayed and you had that releasing moment. It seemed like it feel like it get whatever you prayed for, you gotta feel worse first before it starts to get better. So somebody right now, family believers, in that same season that you were in and went through the same troubles and hardships that you just went through. So you gotta pray for them. And then don't you realize sometimes you ever had those moments where somebody you might be praying for, or you've been praying for someone and you can see that the Lord done answered your prayer because that person, whatever you prayed for, is working out, right? And I'm so thankful for that, because every time I feel like I've prayed for someone, because I have my list of people that I pray for that they don't even know it. These people don't know that right now I'm constantly praying for them as much as I possibly can. I just have my list of people that something in my heart just chose them, and I want to pray for them more. So when I do pray my prayer for myself and my family, there's some other few people that's on my prayer list that I just pray for. And when I'm doing that, and I'm just doing it sincerely with all my heart, and I look up and I see that person's still doing okay, I'm like, oh man, things gonna be all right. And it kind of gives me a sense like my prayers is what's helping. And it may not be just my prayers. It's just God doing his part, comforting others and his spirit working in others and him saving others and doing his part. But that part, with our part, may also be included, because it says that. I mean, the word, we wouldn't say it all over this Bible about prayer and to pray for others if it obviously didn't mean something and wouldn't work, and the Lord doesn't answer and use those prayers that we submit to him. So sometimes I have that feeling like, oh, wow, Lord, I think that my prayers are helping, and it makes me feel so good. And it might not even be my prayer. It could be somebody else's prayer that he answered, that he heard that person's cry for somebody else. And he was like, you know what? I seen your tears. I heard your cries. I seen your tears, heard your prayers, and heard you crying out to me, and I'm going to answer you. And sometimes I just like to think like the Lord is answering my prayers that I'm praying for somebody else. And it just stirs me up even more to keep doing it. So that's where it says here. It says, and then many people will give thanks because God has graciously answered so many prayers for our safety. So when you feel like gosh, man, I think the Lord is hearing my prayers for that person because that person's still doing all right. That person has got through that sickness that they was going through and you prayed for them, or they're still sustained. The Lord is still sustaining them, or that person got that job, or that person it worked out and they had a turnaround in their life. And you felt like because you knew you was praying for them on their behalf and they didn't even know it. But then when you kind of look back and kind of check on them to find out how everything's going, and it looked like it seems like everything is all right, you can just glorify God even more, because you're like, man, the Lord could have been my prayers that the Lord answered, and I'm going to keep on doing that. And so that's why we got to pray for other people, because the Lord could pick your prayer to hear and answer. So please don't be afraid to pray for others. And it says that the many people will give thanks because God has graciously answered so many prayers. So we got to remember to definitely put them prayers in, for people that's going through those hardships and those sufferings and things like that. And you ain't got to tell them you praying for them. Just do it. And again, the Lord is going to comfort us all. Okay. And so one other part here. Where it talked about, it says, in everything we do, we show that we are true ministers of God. We patiently endure troubles and hardships and calamities of every kind. So like here what Paul says, we've been beaten, been put in prison, faced angry mobs, worked to exhaustion, endured sleepless nights, and gone without food. We prove ourselves by our purity, our understanding, our patience, our kindness, by the Holy Spirit within us, and by our sincere love. So Paul is basically saying, we done went through it all. We done been beaten. We done been nights we didn't get enough food. We went through sleepless nights. And some of us may have experienced in some form of another, in all of these things that I just mentioned here. And you look up now and you got through it. That was God that did that. And it says here, we prove ourselves by our purity and our understanding. So when you start to understand what it is that you're going through, when you now understand that those tests and those trials that you're going through is meant for you for your good. And so that way you can help someone else and be able to comfort someone else when you're going through it. Okay. And it says that's the Lord and his Spirit that's working in you. All right. And so we have to just kind of understand that. And so now we just deal with these things with more patience. And we deal with it with more kindness. Still make sure you treat people kind, because you don't know what they're going through. You don't know if they are in that season that you remember, because you done been through it. You done been through the roughest season of your life, and you expected to die. Like Paul said, whatever it is that you're going through. But the Lord, you relied on God, and God saved you anyway. He still ended up saving you and keeping you and blessing you and comforting you. So you got to now go through your hardships with a different attitude and patience and kindness. Still love others. Still pray for others. So even when you're going through what you're going through, still take the time out to pray for others, because somebody else is going through the same thing. And so, and the way you do that, and what does it look like when you are getting through these things with patience and with kindness and with more understanding? How do you try to get through those moments? How do you try to get through those hardships and those sufferings and those troubles and those calamities? You get through it by looking back on what the Lord has done for you. Somewhere, some point in your life, you can look back and say, the Lord got me through this. And if it was that one time that you know that was God that did that, you better hold on to that one time, and you keep remembering it for every other time, so you can continue to glorify God and pray to God and give thanks to God and comfort others, and know that the Lord is comforting you. So that's how you get through the hardships that may come, or that may happen to you, or still may happen, because calamities and trouble still may happen. Tests still may happen. So you get through it by remembering what the Lord done for you. Okay? And then so again, continue to pray and being persistent in your prayers. And also you get through it too by sharing your testimony. Thanks for joining. Yes, you get through it by sharing your testimonies. You overcome the things that you're going through by the blood of the Lord and by the power of your testimony. So don't be afraid to also share with others what you have experienced, because they need to hear it. Because sometimes when people going through what they're going through, their mind is already convinced that they're not going to make it through it. They're already convinced that this is, how am I going to get through this? Nothing good is going to come of this. But if they hear your testimonies, you can encourage somebody else to keep on going through, keep on keeping on. And the Lord is right there, and his Spirit is going to work in you, and you're going to be able to endure. So you have to share those testimonies. I don't mind being transparent about what I went through. The Lord brought me through some stuff, and prayer worked. I would pray and cry and pray and cry. So if I had to really, the first thing somebody asked me is, how am I going to get through this? The first thing coming out is, oh, pray, please pray. But yes, the word of our testimony is going to help as well. So the way we get through these things, we look back on what the Lord has done for us that one time before, or twice before, or the several times before, when the Lord kept you and saved you from something that should have happened and it didn't. or when the Lord gave you something that you shouldn't have got or shouldn't have deserved. He gave you that promotion. He gave you that job that you was wanting. You got that relationship now that you finally wanted. You are out of that other place that you were once staying in, and you were praying to be able to move somewhere else. Or something, an opportunity came along, and now when you took that opportunity, you made the most of it, and the best thing just came out of it. And sometimes you didn't, and some people didn't even deserve it, but he gave it to you, and that was his grace. So you look back, that's how you get through these hardships, by looking back on the things that the Lord has done for you, and then by the blood of and by the word of your testimony. Testifying and sharing your testimony with others so you can help and comfort them when they're going through it, because it's going to happen. So we got to remember that, Christian friends. And I just want to thank you all. I had to just give that word because, again, I was sitting on that word for a while. And I just wanted everybody to know that, those hard times are going to come. Those seasons are going to come. And even sometimes when you get through the season, you're still going to experience some ups and downs because it's not going to be perfect. But we do need to know that we got to rely only on God. He's the one that's comforting us. And then your perspective of saying that I'm going through these troubles for a reason because I'm going to now save and help somebody else. Now you know why you're going through it, to help somebody else. And make sure you're persistent in your prayers, praying for others because they're going through the same things. And then when you see like it look like, man, they doing all right, I'm going to keep on praying for them because I feel like the Lord is answering my prayers for them. And you keep on doing it. And then you share that testimony. You share your story with others. Do not forget to glorify God and share with how God has saved you through that, how he kept you through that, how he blessed you with that, how he had his grace and mercy on you. You have to go and tell others. You better run and go tell others how the Lord saved you through something and got you through some things. Don't hold that stuff in. You share that testimony with others. You overcome the troubles and the trials and overcome those demons and overcome those things by the blood of the Lord and by the blood of Christ and by the word of your testimony. So you have to get it out there after you've experienced what you went through and you were like, wow, that had been God that got me through it. You better go and share it. Better go and share it with somebody else. So Christian friends, I do want to thank you all for joining me. Again, you can always watch my other replays of my other pop-up Bible studies where I just pretty much give a word. Again, you can follow me on Instagram at KrisCHen Adorn. You can follow me on my Facebook page, KrisCHen.a.apparel. You can also follow me on my YouTube channel, Godly Models TV, and just kind of check out some of my other things that I have on there where hopefully it can encourage you and encourage just one. So I do want to thank you again, and I will hopefully see you all next time. Thank you, Christian friends.